So this is what the page currently looks like when we try to print. We've got color, we've got images, we've got different font sizes. And so we are going to create a printer-friendly version that doesn't include all of the fun colors and images because that tends to waste people's ink. So we are going to, we're going to be going out to our Zen folders. And we're basically going to be copying the print or the screen CSS and creating print CSS. So there's really two ways you can do it. You can either open the CSS folder, right-click copy, right-click paste, and rename it to print. Or if you still have the screen CSS open, which of course I do, I'm going to save it. That'll save any changes I made to this. And then I'm going to go to File and Save As. Make sure it's still going in my CSS folder. And I'm going to change the name to Print. And just double check to make sure print is what you're seeing. And it is kind of helpful to know what your original CSS is when you go through and kind of strip things out to make changes. And what I do quite often is I will comment out the CSS. If I'm testing different effects, I will comment sections out. And what we're going to be doing is commenting out everything that we currently have. So it's just / asterisk, and we're going to go to the bottom. And we'll put in an asterisk /. Now, there's other / asterisks in here, and you can kind of see when the color changes. So that tells me I need to put in another / asterisk. It's the only problem with having too many comments. But I do comments quite often. And now everything kind of looks grayed out, except for this lovely stuff. Let's try to put this in here. Basically, it's taking the asterisk / from the comments, the intentional comments, and it's using it for the code comments. But at this point, everything is commented out, and I can tell because of the color. So what we're going to do is figure out the formatting we want removed. And for most of the elements, we can actually use the wildcard up here to remove formatting we don't want. Okay, so this is kind of a starting point. And typically on a printed page, we want everything to print at 100%, right? We want the full print area for our text. And we're going to set a font size of 12 point because that is one that most people can read. And we'll do font family. I'm just going to use the generic sans serif. So whatever their default sans serif font is will be used. You want to strip out background color. So we're just going to set the background to white. Oh, not attachment. Don't you love it when it changes your code? There we go. There we go, background white. And let's see, color. This is the color of the text. That should be black. And I think it's not liking the space. And I need a semicolon up there. All right, getting rid of the squigglies. Now it's happy. So I'm going to make everything aligned on the left side, all of the text. And I'm going to set the margin to 0. And remember, this is setting the top, bottom, right, and left to 0. And for the padding, I'm also setting that to 0. I'm going to set the display to block because obviously I want everything to print vertically. And I want it to start at the very top. So I'm going to say top 0%. Should get everything up at the top. The height I'm going to just set to auto. Opacity I'm going to set to 1 because we do have some opacity changes in here. I don't want any of those changes being picked up and carried forward for printing. So I am setting opacity to 1, which is solid. I do not want borders, so I'm just going to set border to none. I don't want text shadow, so I'm also setting that to none. And then for the font weight, I just want that normal. Okay, so that's a whole lot of settings. These are typical CSS settings that you would change in a page. And quite a few of those, in fact, all of them have been applied at one point or another in the CSS for Zen. So we're basically just kind of resetting all of those values. And at this point, let's save. And I'm going to go out to Chrome, just because Chrome is the easiest one to test this in. Let's reload, and you're not going to notice any difference. Actually, you aren't going to see any difference here either because we have to do one more thing. In order to view this in Chrome, we would have to, let's go to our home, and we do need to add a link to this. So right up at the very top, and for right now, I'm just going to stick it in here, but eventually it does need to go into all of the pages. Very important that you remember to set up your print CSS link, or it's not going to be very printer friendly. Okay, so basically, if we are in print preview or we send something to the printer, this print CSS is going to kick in. Let me save here. And I might as well just copy and paste. We'll go ahead and quick throw it into all of them. That way, if we want to click on links and check other pages, they will all be good. All right, so I'm going to save all of this. And then we will go out to Chrome and reload here. And let's just open a couple of those and press Control P. Okay, so we did notice now it is 100%, and I can change this to portrait. It doesn't matter if it's portrait or landscape. So a lot of the text did go to plain. If you notice that this is not large and teal colored anymore. Okay, we still have an issue with our images. We need to get rid of those, and we still have a border in the nav area that we need to get rid of. Treatments and hydrating, that is from the detail and summary section. So we're going to need to do a couple additional commands in those sections as well. So let's go back into VS Code. To get rid of the image and the aside, because we don't want to print anything that's in the aside because basically that just has images in it. To get rid of that, right below our default here, we are going to put in aside, comma, image. And we're just going to set the display. And set the display to none. And that will get rid of anything that will hide basically the aside section, anything that's in that. It'll also hide our images. So let me save. Go back out here and reload. And we'll do Control P. Okay, so now that is looking a little more friendly. No more images, no more aside section. We still have a little bit of an issue with the nav section. Okay, you see some of the text has kind of disappeared and we have some borders that we need to get rid of. So we're going to go back over to the print CSS, and the next thing we're going to add is for nav ULLI, because that is where the formatting is being applied for the border. And this is where it is kind of helpful to kind of look down in your CSS and see where different things are being applied. So here's nav ULLI, and I can see right there that that's where my borders are. I can also see that there's a left margin being set, which is why I can't see some of my text, okay, in printer view at least. So I need to set the border to none. I'm going to set the margin to 0. And actually, I do want these to display underlined so that people at least know their links. So we're going to say text decoration underline. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to save. I'm going to come out into Chrome, reload it, Control P. Whoop. Okay, and you can see those are now displaying as links. And I don't have the border business, and I can actually see the text. Oops, one other thing. Let me open these and show you. This little border here, you'll notice there's kind of a border above the navigation area. That is actually coming from a box shadow that is in the header. So we need to override that. So next thing we're going to say is header box shadow none. And that will get rid of that box shadow that we're still seeing. Now, if you think you had box shadows other places, you may want to try putting that up in the default, but I'm pretty sure header is the only other place we had it. We have it on some of the images, but the images are already hidden. Okay, so this was the only other location for that. So let's save. Let's reload it and check it out in print preview. Okay, so now the line is gone. As you can see, we still have some colorful text. And that text is coming from our summary element. So we need to change summary. The whole section is detail, but that text is inside the summary tags. So we need to put a little override on those. So we're going to say summary. And we're going to change the color to black. So that'll immediately fix the color problem. We're going to change the font size to 12 so that the text is not bigger than the rest. The text does have a text shadow on it, which is kind of hard when the print preview is all zoomed out. But we are going to set the text shadow to none. And when we went to print, that text was really close to the line above it. So I'm going to save this and show you before I add the print code here. So let's open these. Oops, I'm going to reload it first. Then we will open these and Control P. Where you're going to notice that is right here. You see how close that is to the line above. It would look better if we had some space between these different sections. So we're going to go back into our CSS. And we're just going to put a little top margin. So we're going to say margin top. Just going to put a little 10 pixel margin above the line so that it's not bumping right up against the text that is before it. Now, we still need to kind of fix the way the links look. And we're going to fix some of the paragraphs and also the headings. But we have to view some other pages so you can see what the problems are. So let's save. And we will reload this. So let's take a look. We'll take a look at this one. This one's going to have some issues. So let's press Control P. So in this one, you can pretty clearly see that we have a little issue with the link. The color is still here, and it's displaying in a block, which means it's kind of on the line below. And we actually have enough room to put it right next to the text. Also, this is in a paragraph, and you'll see that the paragraph is just butting right up against the line above. So for the paragraph element, we're going to add margin top of 10. And then for all the different states of a link, so link, visited, hover, and active, we're going to change the text to black, remove the text shadow. We're going to display it in line, so it goes right next to the text that kind of introduces the link. And we're also going to make sure that it's just displayed as underlined. So let's cancel out of here. And so we said we were going to do the links. So that's a link, a visited, a hover, and a active. Color black. Although we probably only need to do a link on this. We'll keep all of them in, but really a link would be sufficient. Getting rid of the text shadows, setting it to black, doing display in line, and making sure that it displays underlined. And then we said for paragraphs, so that's our P selector, we want margin top set to 10px. So let's save. And let's go back out to Chrome, reload it. And we'll do Control P. Okay, so immediately you can see the link looks way better. Okay, and we have space in between our different little sections. So overall, the appearance looks pretty good, at least for a printed page. Let's take a look at this one. That one looks pretty good, and it is a good idea to check each one. And if you've got these kind of elements, you do want to expand them. We already looked at that page. So let's take a look at this one. That actually doesn't look too bad either. And let's take a look at Contact Us. That one looks pretty good as well. Zen Treatments, we're going to take a quick peek at this one. This has got a lot of text on it. So this may be one where we want to adjust some of the headings and put some more spacing in here. And also you'll notice that we have these different sections, and right in the middle of this section we have a page break. So we can actually say page break inside avoid, and it will bump this whole section to the next page. So we are going to fix that. So we're going to put in some print CSS for heading tags. We're just going to put a little top margin on them. And then we are, for this little detail section, we're going to put a top margin on that and tell it to avoid page breaks. So let's come down here. We'll just do H1, H2, H3. And we'll just do margin top. And even though we might not be using all of these, it doesn't mean that in the future it won't be adding them in. So this just kind of gives us a little buffer in case they do add those to the pages. And then we'll say details. And we're going to do a little margin top there. And then we're going to do the page break inside. Avoid. And let's save that. And basically, again, what that is doing, it's going to prevent this page break in the middle of the detail section. So let's cancel, reload the page. Let's expand all three of these out and press Control P. And immediately you can see that the page break kind of went into effect. And that just makes sense. If you have a section of text that you don't want spanning on multiple pages, that page break inside is a really nifty little property. Pretty easy to use, and it is effective. So at this point, all of our pages look great. So this code that we commented out, so starting here, we're just going to delete it. Okay, and that brings us to the code we have left. And again, we'll file and save. And now we have our screen CSS, and we also have our printer friendly.